And let us pray. Aramim ka Adonai ki dilitani. Adonai Elohai la'olam odeka amen. I will extol you, O Lord, for you have drawn me up. O Lord my God, I will give thanks to you forever. Amen. We are in our last week of our We Are the Church series, where we've been looking at the message in the hymn, We Are the Church. We've been working backwards. We did it on purpose. We started with verse 5 and understanding how it is that our choices, the way that we choose to live our lives, share the love of God. And that is an important thing, that we share the love of God. Because, as verse 4 tells us, it is the love of God that gives us strength. And in drinking in that word, that love of God, that we are able to go out into the world. Because, as we remember in verse 3, God is with us and will never leave us no matter what, no matter how hard it gets. Verse 2 reminded us that the church is not one undistinguishable unit, but a diversity of people who join together in this one story of faith. Because today we talk about verse 1. Verse 1 that says that the church is not a building. The church is not a steeple. The church is not a resting place. It is a church that is a... Okay, come on, say it louder. People, right? And we all know this, and I know this because I keep hearing it, which is lovely. It means you're listening to me. But I gotta say, locations have sacred value, right? There are those places that you go and you just can't help but feel God. For me, 9 times out of 10, it's sitting next to running water. It doesn't matter why, naturally running water. Let's go with that. Can't sit next to a sink. I'm not doing it there. But rivers, ponds, lakes, oceans, moving water in nature. For me, that is a sacred place. Camp, particularly Northern Pines near Park Rapids, is a sacred place for me. The chapel at the university that I graduated is a sacred space for me where I cannot help but go and feel the presence of God. I imagine that you have places as well. For some of you, this sanctuary may be one of them. But just because a location has the feel of the sacred doesn't make it church, right? Sitting by the ocean doesn't make the shoreline church. Sitting next to a river does not make something church. The beautiful putting green on the 16th hole of whichever golf course you like to golf at doesn't make it church. It is the community of people gathered together. It is the community of faith that makes a space church. And so today we come to the beginning of the Abraham narrative in Genesis 12. It's a shift in the book of Genesis, right? We're going from when God created the heavens and the earth and all of the things, or when God sent a flood into the world, or when the people decided they wanted to be near God, and so they tried to build the tallest tower that they possibly could, and God said, oh, that's not going to go well for you, right? Before this, in Genesis, we have big sweeping stories about all of the people of the world gathering together in one way or another, and then we shift. Because with the story of Abram turned Abraham, we go from telling the history of the world to the history of the Hebrew people and how God is going to bless the whole world through one person. Now, Abram comes from a nomadic family. Just before chapter 12 starts, at the end of chapter 11, we learn how his father, Terah, had lived in Ur, but God said, hey, we don't want you to do that anymore, so why don't you come over here to Haran? And at the same time, I wonder that when God called out to Abram and said, Abram, I want you to leave your father's house and I want you to go to the place that I will show you. What in the world was Abram thinking, right? I'm a planning kind of person. I really like a map. I really, really, really like a plan. When you ask me what the plan is and I don't know the plan, chances are really high that my anxiety is through the roof, right? But what God said was, Abram, go to that place. I'm not telling you where that place is yet, but I want you to go to it. Pack up all of your stuff, your wife, your nephew, all of the servants in your household, because let's be real, those are the people that were gathered together at Haran. And go to this place that I will show you. And you will be a blessing to all people. I imagine Abraham was like, sure, let's do this, right? Anybody? No. Let's go. All right, sure. Okay, God, whatever. And so they went, Abram, Sarah, their nephew Lot, and all of their household. And they traveled. They lived in tents. They established altars. And they traveled. They went from Haran to Canaan. Genesis tells us that near Shechem, God tells Abraham that this land will be his. This will be the land of your descendants. That's awesome. Like homestead it, right? Build a house. No. Abram builds an altar. And then he goes on to another place. To settle between Bethel and Ai, because everybody knows where that is. And he builds another altar. And he pitches his tent for a while. And then he travels even further south. Abram is the essential nomad. He never really settles down anywhere. You see, I think that's part of the story. Abram never settled down because God told him that he was going to be a blessing to all families. And so he was always on the move, seeking that place that God was calling him to. Always. You see, ministry is not bound to a building. It's where God calls us. And it may be in this building, it may be outside this building, it may be on Winifred Street, and it may be somewhere else entirely. But God is calling us to ministry, and that is where we go. See, over the last couple of weeks, we've had 7 of our 10 small group cottage gatherings. This is my next pitch for if you haven't gone to one yet, please sign up. And in those meetings, we're talking about the finances of the church. We're talking about the challenges the church is experiencing right now, the congregation. But also, we're talking about where we have seen God. It's not the question I ask, but that's the essence of what I'm getting. I ask, what has been your greatest joy because of Faith United Methodist Church? All right, Charles. So I'm taking those answers and I'm putting them into a word cloud. And some of you have seen a variation of this, but none of you have yet seen this one because I've edited it. I change it after every meeting to include everyone's answers. What is our greatest joy because of Faith United Methodist Church? For those of you who know word clouds, the larger the word, the more often the answer comes up. What is our greatest joy, anyone? Family. Followed closely by the people, by fellowship, and by friends. I know you probably can't read the teeny tiny details, but people is up there like 2 or 3 other times in various ways. What is our greatest joy? Where do we see God? As a congregation, we see it in one another. We see it in connecting with each other. We see it in the people. I don't hear, when I ask people what their greatest joy is, about where we do ministry. I hear about the people that we do ministry with, the ones who walk alongside us in faith, the ones who are with us as we explore what it is to be the people of God. You see, Faith United Methodist Church, and the broader sense, is not about a location. It's about the ministry we do with people, those who are here and those who have not yet come. And so as we look at who we are as a people, as we look at how it is that God works alongside us, we know that God is working through us. And how amazing and joyful that is. And then I ask, where is it that God is calling us to be? Because I truly believe that God has said, Faith United Methodist Church, come and go to the place that I will show you. Come and be with the people that I will show you so that we can reach out, so that others may know the love of God, so that we may walk alongside each other, so that the world may be blessed because of us. And so today, let us celebrate that call. Today, let us be the people of God, the people of faith, that answer, okay, let's do this thing. Let us show God's love wherever it is that God calls us to be. Amen.